All right. Good night, everybody. How is everybody doing? I am Christ. I am disciple, as you can see there by the name in the corner. And right now, we're going to talk about restoring the Snyderverse, but we're going to do it in a manner in which you and everybody else can participate. All right. Let me give you the structure once again so you know what this stream is going to be about. First thing we're going to have is some scripture. Okay. After that, we're going to speak about the climate we're in and how that leads to us having certain priorities in terms of our campaigns. And we'll tell you the campaign, the strategy. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing. We'll start off with scripture. So let me get right into it because it's pretty late already. I'm supposed to contact other people on Twitter, on Facebook, so people will know. So I will do that in a minute. But first, let me just get into El Scripture. First, let me go ahead and invite some people in here. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me see here. Wonderful. All right, so I already see somebody's viewing. That's good. We'll start off with some scripture. You're gonna have to bear with me an extra 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. We begin at 10:30. Actually, the stream begins at 10:30. Uh, yeah, so you gotta bear with me. Feel free to comment, leave your comments. Feel free to join here as a guest. The link is in the chat section. All right. If you want to donate to my channel, it's in the description. Okay. I'm just sending to some groups here, and then we will be up and popping. Up and popping, baby. Just sending out the message now. But we are live. We are live, baby. We are live. All right. So you see the scripture there. Now, this is not just for Snyder fans. This is for DC fans as well, because I know DC fans are affected by this. So all you fans out there, we're going to speak a little bit about what we should be doing. I'll explain the atmosphere, the climate we're in, and I'll explain how we have to take action. I'm just trying to contact everybody right now while we're streaming. 4 minutes in, I got one more minute, so I gotta move pretty fast here. Ooh, racing against the clock here. Takes a good minute to do this to get the information out. Almost there though. Almost there. Almost there. I think we'll beat the time. 5 minutes in. It's 10:50. This is when the stream begins. A little bit behind schedule here. but we'll get there. When we start a rocking and a rolling, a swinging and a swaying. Oh yeah. All right, good. So we got everybody here. Everybody's here. Yeah. All right. So, there's a comment right in there. Let me see who this is. Shout out to whoever. Leroy Kong, what's up to you, my brother? Yes. Hello to you, says Leroy Kong. Great live. Well, it just begun, so it's not really a great live yet, but it's just begun. If you want to join here as a guest, feel free to pop in, pop out. We're going to get to it. So, officially, we begin right now. It's 10:51. That's when the stream is supposed to begin, so we're going to get into it. Scripture is the first thing we're going with, so let's get to it. Scripture. And the scripture is taken from Psalms 82, verses 1 to 4. So I'm actually doing double what I usually do, okay? Respect to the Most High God. I thank God we're here. I was just contemplating one thing today, how easily it is that you can just suddenly die. All right? I know people who were healthy and stuff, and 1 minute they were healthy, 1 minute they were dead. It was like that. In fact, this week, one of my relatives passed away. You know, there are 3 deaths that happened during the COVID that I can't even explain why these people are dead right now. You know what I mean? I can't even explain it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, life is like that. So let me get to it. Psalms 82 verse 1 says, God presides over heaven's court. He pronounces judgment on judges. So usually judges, they're the ones that decide the situation and they bring judgment. But he's judging the people who bring judgment. How long will you judges hand down unjust decisions? How long will you shower special favors on the wicked? Give fair judgment to the poor and the orphan. Uphold the rights of the oppressed and the destitute. Rescue the poor and helpless. Deliver them from the grasp of evil people. But these oppressors know nothing. They are so ignorant. Because they are in darkness, the whole world is shaken to the core. I say, you are gods and children of the Most High, but you shall die as mere men. You will fall as any prince, for all must die. Rise up, O God, and judge the earth, for all nations belong to you. All right, we're gonna talk about that in this discussion tonight on restoring the Snyderverse. So that's the scripture, and that's the context in which we will talk about what we have to talk about. And right now we're going to speak about the climate in the world today, the climate in entertainment particularly, the climate particularly in entertainment when it comes to Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers Discovery, the climate in Hollywood. We're going to talk about that. So let's get to it. First of all, we know that there is currently in Hollywood a Writers Guild strike and an Actors Guild strike, right? SAG-SAFTRA is striking and WGA or WAGA is striking. Why are they striking? These are the creatives that supply you and I with entertainment, particularly when we talk about film, movies, TV. So why are they striking? They're striking because the corporations and companies do not want to agree to certain proposals they have made to them, particularly when it comes to the wages of creatives, minimum wage of creatives, particularly when it comes to the likeness and image of creatives, And also, particularly when it comes to the creatives being a part of the profits of the company when the company puts forth entertainment. So that's the thing, interesting thing in that climate. The other thing that's interesting in this climate right now is we're seeing, and this is across the board when it comes to entertainment, we are seeing creatives, we are seeing financiers of creatives, we are seeing corporations lashing out at the very audience that supplies the money to these people, rewarding them for their entertainment. We're seeing it now, it's very frequent, where we've seen Cardi B attack a fan. We've seen very recently they're the producers for The Witcher attacking the audience, attacking fans. We've seen corporations like Warner Brothers ignore fans and attack fans, call fans part of the audience, call them toxic, call them a vocal minority, etc. We're getting this adversarial relationship between those who provide entertainment and those who consume entertainment. It's very interesting. So the climate we're in, to start with, just speaking on climate here, is one in which it's adversarial. We've seen a very adversarial stance Warner Brothers has taken against the majority of the fans of DC, but this is not the only adversarial nature we've seen. We've seen it also with Disney being quite firm and adversarial against the fandom that consumes their products. As such, because of this, we're getting substandard product. We're getting product that, as of the present point in time, we're getting product that. Why am I not seeing Leroy come? I added him to the stream. Okay, here he comes. Okay, so we are getting product right now in entertainment that is no longer being viewed or consumed by the said consumers of the product, because the said consumers of the product are being alienated from said product, because of course we have this adversarial relationship between those who provide the product and the consumers who consume the product, you know. And so what we're ending up with in entertainment today, the climate we have is very adversarial, and as a result of that, we are having not entertainment necessarily, but we can say we seem to be getting what is called programming instead of entertainment. Instead of getting something that we can enjoy, we're getting people beating us over the head, telling us you have to consume this. And that is the scary thing about what is happening in entertainment today. Welcome, good night again to Leroy Kong, my brother. Happy Emancipation Day. Yesterday was Emancipation Day. I didn't get to say that to you. So I celebrated the same thing as you. So I just wanted to say that. And I wanted to say, as a fan of DC, which you definitely are, as a fan also of some of Marvel Entertainment, how do you find the providers of entertainment today, Disney and Warner Brothers? Do you find that they are trying to entertain you, or you think they are trying to give you what they think you should have?
Well, to be honest, I'm going to tell you the truth. Right now, they are pieces of shit. That's what I think. They are pieces of shit. They are not doing things right now. They are a bunch of idiots and clowns, and they are showing their middle fingers to us true fans, which is sad. All of them, really sad. And that is why I agree with this strike. They are striking for a good cause, and this strike is not going to be over anytime soon. By year end, this strike will not end, and it will set back a lot of things. Sad.
I think also, I must say, this is a climate where these corporations, first of all, the corporations like Warner Brothers and Disney, have at their heads now people who are not necessarily consumers themselves of the
Yeah.
entertainment that they provide. These people are mostly from the business community, and therefore, you know, people like Greg Silverman, for example, he's a lover, you could tell, of film, and he enjoys, you know, entertainment. And
Yeah.
so you can tell that he would be a great leader because he is also a lover of the very thing that he is, you know, in the business of producing and promoting. But when it comes to these executives in these companies, they have no idea, first of all, of the very product that they're promoting and
Yeah.
producing. They have no idea. And then on top of that, now they are also have no idea about what the audience really enjoys. You get
Mhm.
the feeling that they're detached from that and they're not really interested or invested in that. They're just
Yeah.
into this entertainment industry for profit. They really are about the bottom line, and they don't really care about,
And
you know,
they are losing millions right now. They are losing millions and millions of dollars right
hundreds
now.
of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars they're losing.
Hundreds of
Yes,
millions. They are losing.
yes. Um, what do you think of? So there's many things I want to say. The first one
Mhm.
is, what do you think of this artificial intelligence technology that they are now trying? These corporations are trying to implement so that there's no need for actors in the industry.
I don't think. I think that's a bad move. It's sad. It's wrong. In some ways it's okay, and some most ways it's not okay because they are trying to use this AI and don't give the actors no money for it. They're trying to use their thing and make more money. It's not right. That is
Exactly.
total waste of time. The actors should be treated better because they work hard, and a lot of them not making much money. They have to make ends meet. It's sad.
Right. And we know that this was inevitable, that something like this would happen in the future. I remember President Barack Obama talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and how that,
Yeah.
you know, could be something where human beings, you know, no longer are able to do jobs and so on. The AI does
Yeah.
everything. But what I would like to say is, in this environment, these corporations who already don't know anything about making movies, already are not necessarily lover of movies, um, for them to take that tool and utilize it, do you think that will be to a disadvantage actually to them and the companies, especially in this early phase, because they're not interested in making movies, they don't know how to make movies. This AI is going to
Yeah.
put up something that they think will work, and maybe it'll backfire royally on them. Do you think that's what, or maybe that's what they're using anyway, AIs to write stories anyway? But what do you think?
I think I can't tell it. It may work, or it may not work. But to
Right,
me, I think they should use a real person should do the job better so that they can pay that person. This AI thing, I don't think it's going to work. It will work in some ways, but in
right.
some other ways it will not work. I don't think it will work. It will backfire on them and they will crumble. I heard that it may
Well,
cause a
as you
nuclear
know,
war. It may cause a
right.
nuclear war against people. So I think it's dangerous. It in some ways will work, in some ways, but most ways it will not work. Sorry, it will not work.
I actually believe that that's what they're using to story tell
Yeah,
and sort of modifies, like the last movie, Andy Muschietti's The Flash. I think they
yeah,
probably used AI to try and get suggestions as to how to do the stories,
yeah,
and it backfired, I think. But
yeah, yeah,
the most important thing here is the climate we're in now, as you can see, Leroy, is one in
yeah,
which now we have strikes going on. Now
yeah,
we have the audience who is not satisfied with the products that both Marvel and DC are putting out.
yeah,
Then we also have these corporations who are adversarial towards a movie going audience, particularly the fans of the audience. They're being adversarial towards them.
yeah,
Um, Given that sort of climate, and given the fact that a lot of production now has been delayed in a series of movies, both on Netflix and so on. In fact, I believe with The Witcher, I believe the producers of The Witcher were trying to insult the fans, and their
Yeah,
intelligence and so on, because The Witcher didn't do very well this season. Now
because
the
of Henry
question,
Cavill's departure. Because of Henry Cavill's departure. That's the thing.
right? But they
Yeah,
also this season they focused more on the woman than on Henry
yeah,
Cavill as he was departing. So
yeah.
now here's my question to you: given this climate, I saw on Twitter a number of hashtags. The major hashtags that we've been seeing, and especially today, has been "Make the Batfleck movie." We know in
Mm,
2 days' time, alert to all fans out there, in 2 days' time, we will be doing the hashtag "Release the Air Cut" all
mm,
day on Twitter and on social media.
yeah.
But here's my question to you: what, and that leads us to priorities. What do you think should be the hashtag that we should be using at this point in time, given the climate I just described?
Well, there are many different hashtags. There are people who want different things. I want different things. I want I want this Snyderverse to restore. I want Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck to come back, but it's impossible. So I have no idea. There are around 100 hashtags. As a
Right.
fan,
So it's
right now
good. So
the
I
fan
want to
base,
ask you, I want to
the
ask
fan
you a
base are
question.
divided
I
right now.
just, right.
The fan
I
base are
just
divided.
described,
Hey, sorry, go on. Go ahead.
no, no, you go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
The fan base are divided right now. They're claiming that we are obsessed with Zack Snyder and all those crap. But right now, DC is going down because I hear that Gal Gadot is staying as Wonder Woman, and people say it doesn't make sense because he should keep Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. So he's keeping Gal Gadot. So they're going right down. It not going to work. The only thing right now is show the haircut, restore the Snyderverse, bring back Zack Snyder. That's how I see it.
Right. Great
All right.
stuff. Now, actually, those three hashtags you said they are very feasible, but because of the strike,
Mm,
uh, I don't think they're doable at this point in time.
yeah.
Meaning, release the air cut. The air cut still has some work to do to finish it
Yeah,
off, which means the cast may have to be brought back or the editing crew has to be brought in. And right now we're in the middle of a strike. So that's
strike,
not
stop everything, strike, stall everything, practically stall
right.
everything. Yeah,
However, the other thing is make the Batfleck movie. That is, the movie hasn't even been made. So
yeah,
therefore, that's not something that you can have done right now while the strike is going on.
it's
So
strike.
that's
Oh,
cross
yeah,
out. Henry Cavill as Superman is a great idea, but once again, because we're in the middle of a strike, that's not
yeah,
doable right now,
right.
right? Okay, let's look at some other options. You said restore the Snyderverse. We would love to restore the Snyderverse, but right now,
Strike.
again, we can't really do any productions, right? So there's
Right.
no going to be no production work. So that's not something that could be done exactly right now, but yes, in a way, it can be done now. So I'll explain that in a minute. Um, the next thing I want to say is, if you look at the other hashtag that they asked everybody to do, which is, so there's Henry Cavill as Superman, there's Make the Batfleck movie, there's Release the Air Cut, Restore the Snyderverse, but there's another hashtag, and I use it all the time, which is Release the Snyder Cut in cinemas and IMAX.
Oh,
Yes. Now, if you think
they're,
about this one,
they're,
this
they're
one's
not.
doable.
They're not going to do that because their egos get to their heads. James Gunn let his ego get to his head, and he's scared right now. James Gunn, he's making bad decisions. So
Right. So
let's see.
there's a lot I want to say that I didn't
Yeah,
mention in climate, but let's go to this. Release the Snyder Cut in cinemas and IMAX can happen because of two major points. The first one is we have two individuals in Warner Brother Pictures named Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca, or Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi,
yeah,
who favor the Snyder Cut going into theaters.
mm-hmm.
How do we know this? Early this year, we had Full Circle, which is an event where Zack Snyder was able to feature his three movies: Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And Zack Snyder had never He did release. He did play the Snyder Cut in some select theaters, but that was the black and white version. Or Justice is Great. But he never put out a full color version in IMAX. Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca, and apparently James Gunn, allowed him. I don't know who overrode what, because Zach went to Pam and Abdi. He went to Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca. He did not go to James Gunn. And that was allowed to happen. And he featured it in IMAX, the 4-hour-long version where they had an intermission in between. Now, why did that happen? I'll let you speculate first, and then I'll say my piece.
I don't know. Maybe it's a charity thing to Zack Snyder. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe Zack Snyder asks for it and he gets it. Maybe it's a little charity thing what Zack doing. I have no idea.
Okay. Here's the other thing that I'm going to raise with you now.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder yesterday on Vero posted, and then on Twitter posted his support for Blue Beetle, and that he and his children will be going to see it. And then David Ayer came and said anything is possible, and then he posted on Blue Beetle. Now I'm asking, and then on top of that, James Gunn came and said something about Abdi and DeLuca. I can't remember exactly what the tweet was.
Maybe
he was speaking about sorry?
Maybe they struck a deal because they're desperate for money right now. WB, they are desperate for money right now, so they strike a deal because they are desperate for money. So who knows?
Okay, here's another thing I'm saying. I want you to understand what I'm seeing. I'm not making any promises, but I'm seeing something. Today and yesterday, Restore the Snyderverse was trending on Twitter. And then trending on Twitter today was Make the Batfleck movie and Ben Affleck's name. And then trending today was Zack Snyder's name for the third day in a row. Now, I want to say a couple of things. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but I'm saying this is what we need to do. We need to press for Warner Brothers to, 1, restore the Snyderverse, 2, by releasing the Snyder Cut into specifically, globally, specifically into cinemas and IMAX. It's very important it's released in IMAX, but also into cinemas. The reason being that most of Zack Snyder's movies, when released in IMAX, do extremely well with IMAX. So it's very important IMAX is a part of this. Now, why I'm saying we need to press for this, and I've been saying it all along, and into the month of October, why I say this is a pressing thing more than the Ayer Cut, more than any other movie, is because the Snyder Cut is complete. It's not only complete, it's IMAX and cinema ready. There is no money you need to shell out except for distribution and maybe advertising. This is the best thing Warner Brothers could do for themselves right now, because it will bail them out. And we have 2 allies that we can trust in Warner Brothers. Their name is Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca. And they've been doing a great job, by the way, because Warner Brothers Pictures this year, that is, anything they go in, they seem to do a great job, because Warner Brothers Pictures has been doing very well this year. They had Creed 3, that made over $100 million. They had Monsters, that made money. They had Barbie, that made money. And they had something else. It was 4 movies that made money this year. And they are now out of the hole in terms of a negative balance, because even though some, studios, they have movies that flop all the time. But the big movies that they count on, the blockbusters, those have to reign true. And this year they've been doing pretty well. So that is Warner Brothers Pictures, not DC. DC's not been doing well. So the DC movies under James Gunn have flopped. That is the Flash flop this year and Shazam 2 flop this year, right? They have Blue Beetle coming up, and they're doing the best to get Blue Beetle to somehow pick up and get some steam. Zack Snyder, David Ayer, and a couple other people have been talking about Blue Beetle. Now, here's the thing, though. The thing is, if Blue Beetle flops, or even if Blue Beetle doesn't flop, let's say let's do with the best case scenario, right? Let's say Blue Beetle does well, right? Let's say it does well. Let's say it breaks even, it makes some money. Does that mean that we do not press for the Snyder Cut to be released into theaters? Absolutely not. We should do that. And it should be a priority because that's the doable thing. That's something that can happen, right? Because the climate we are in is in a strike.
Maybe the next 100 years, because their egos.
No. Again, you're not listening to me, though. I am saying we have allies in Warner Brothers. And the allies, the key allies are Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca. And guess what? They are the head of Warner Brother Pictures. They're the ones that certify if a movie's going to be made finally. They have the final say. Yes, James Gunn is the head of DC, but they still have to pass it by. I don't know if he skips Abdi and DeLuca and goes to David Zaslav, but from what I see, Abdi and DeLuca seems to still have some sway and some say in what happens.
Okay.
Why I say this is because they have been producing. James Gunn has not been producing. David Zaslav's a man about results. So Abdi and DeLuca has been producing.
Right now.
They're Warner Brother Pictures.
He's desperate right now. They are desperate.
So what I'm trying to say is James Gunn has less and less clout. The less and less he does not produce. Abdi and DeLuca will have more clout because they're producing. You see what I'm saying? Now here's the thing. James Gunn is, he's running out of options, but suffice it to say this. Blue Beetle is the movie they're hinging on for success.
Yeah.
Right? If Blue Beetle flops, Abdi and DeLuca might as well run DC because James Gunn ain't doing nothing, right?
Yeah, he's a clown.
At present, even people who were supporting James Gunn, a guy called Jalen, he turned against James Gunn today. And Jalen said he cannot support what James Gunn is doing by bringing back Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman to have a Wonder Woman 3. So Jalen just kind of, he's now saying James Gunn takes an L for that. Because what it looks like is James Gunn is not really rebooting. He's just removing certain individuals from DC, and he's basically carrying on business as usual.
He hates
and it looks like
Bella Affleck, and that is it's sad.
Right. And it looks like he's carrying on the same program that Walter Hamada was doing. This is what basically it looks like.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are seeing this and they're not feeling very good about it. However, to see Zack Snyder and David Ayer sort of trying to see these movies have some success is interesting, because why would they be doing this? I'm not saying they have an ulterior motive. I'm not saying that at all. But I feel that Abdi and DeLuca has at least a good relationship with them. They have a good relationship with them. Now, I haven't heard what's his name? I haven't heard David Ayer say anything bad or negative about James Gunn, which is interesting. Right? Remember, you're in the industry. You don't really have we as fans can say whatever we want. People in the industry, they can't really say whatever they want. They can't burn bridges, if you understand what I'm saying. So what I'm saying, though, is that regardless of how we feel about James Gunn, I want to say that our allies in there, without a doubt in my mind now, is Abdi and DeLuca. I address everything, as I said before. I don't talk about James Gunn. I address everything to Abdi and DeLuca when I am addressing them. So let me explain what I think a campaign should be. You don't have to take my advice. None of you have to do that, but I just want to get to this one time. So what is our priorities? We have to start aligning things in priorities. The movies that we should be promoting from here on in have to be movies that are made. So in the strike, the movie that we should be pushing for as soon as possible this year. And why this year? Because Zack Snyder's also bringing out Rebel Moon this year. And in addition, Aquaman is coming out this year. We want to see DC succeed. Okay? We want to see DC succeed. But we have to show them that DC can succeed and we can still get what we want.
Mm-hmm.
For that to happen, it's very simple. The solution to the problem is a simple one. What it is going to do, though, is it's going to sort of retroactively delete a past sin. There's a lot that Warner Brothers has to do to make amends for all the trouble and destruction that they've caused, but we have to start one step at a time. And this, I believe the way for this to happen is for them to acknowledge the Snyder Cut as canon, if and only if the Snyder Cut does well on being released into cinemas and IMAX. So it's a conditional statement, right? It has to do well. And if it does well enough, then it will also take care of the debts that Justice League, the first Justice League movie, incurred on the company. See, you can have debt erasure. It can help them pay off their debt. They have $49 billion in debt, $49.5 billion in debt. So they need as much help as possible to erase that debt. And what way then to have $500 million or I don't think it'll make $1 billion, but $500 million tear out that debt. So you have 49 billion now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a ready-made movie. Abdi and DeLuca look like they're in favor of that. Whether they can get it past Zaslav is another story, but I believe they're building a strong case because they are showing that under their leadership, the pictures that are coming out from Warner Brothers are doing well. The only other person I know who was as prolific and as productive and also as successful was Greg Silverman, who was removed in 2016. Greg Silverman has $57 billion worth of movies.
Yeah.
Profit from movies. $57 billion gross, movies. He did exceptionally well, and he was the president of production. And I really pray God Greg Silverman will somehow get back into Warner Brothers. I don't know how that's going to happen because he has Stampede Ventures right now. But and he's actually working with he's actually produced a couple movies actually recently. But suffice it to say, this would be a great guy to go back into Warner Brothers if they ever think about doing it. He was very productive. Yes, there were a number of flops that happened under him as well, but he was very productive with the blockbusters. The blockbusters usually hit. There was a couple of misses, but they usually hit. And it will really carry DC back up to the, not only DC, but also a good addition to Warner Brothers, period, for somebody who actually understands, appreciates movies. But I must say, Abdi and DeLuca are they're productive in Warner Brothers. They're turning the thing around. It's kudos to them. James Gunn still hasn't gotten the ball rolling with anything. So I think Zach and David.
He has already failed.
Well, Zach and David are trying to help him along, apparently. You know, so we'll see what happens with that. But what I will say is, regardless of what happens with Blue Beetle, we need to now put our foot on the gas and start requesting first and foremost for the Snyder Cut to see theaters. I think that's the first thing we should do in terms of priorities, because that's the doable thing, the most doable of them all. And then the next thing we need to do, because that's a movie that's almost complete, is we need to talk about releasing the Ayer cut. You know, the campaign's going to happen again 2 days from now, so we should keep that ball rolling. But at the same time, we should be pushing for the Snyder Cut. Now, if the Snyder Cut, let's say it gets released this year, let's just say that. And
I highly doubt it.
no, I'm saying, let's say it gets released this year, it does well in theaters. What is well? If it even makes $100 million, that's well. That's tremendous, right?
Mhm.
Because that covers its cost to be made, and it covers some of the money that was needed to be made back from Justice League 2017, right? Because Justice League 2009 was 100 and something $1 million in the whole. Plus, you got 70 million on top of that.
Yeah.
Now, let's say it can kind of clean off that debt, right? That means this is a movie that people have seen. This is a movie that had a version of it that came out, and yet on top of that, it makes a sizable amount of money. All right, that means there's a demand for this movie. Maybe you should greenlight a sequel. And once they greenlight the sequel, then we are not supposed to boycott everything. Yes, you have certain taste in things, but I would say we should support DC again. Now, there's still a lot of wrongs that need to be righted in how the company treated creatives from Birds of Prey director all the way down to very recently Andy Muschietti, who was treated very poorly by the executive arm of Warner Brothers. And they take these creators.
And James Wan as well. He's been having a
And
hard
James
time.
Wan, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry for these creators, how they're getting just ping-ponged around by these executives, and they're making them do changes here and ridiculous stuff. And these people know nothing about filmmaking. And they're giving notes, giving suggestions. They're running it through James Gunn, and he's doing it, and it's screwing up the movies. All right, very, very poorly. Now, so the question is, let's just give a scenario where Blue Beetle doesn't do well. So that's another set of money that it costs Warner Brothers. And then on top of that, now we got Aquaman, where it's going to cost them even more money because they're doing reshoots and all kinds of stupid things, which means more money's burning, which means that movie's even more expensive, which means it has to make more money to even break even, right? So it's all of that's going on right now. The question I have is this: these people may look at the situation like, okay, this year it's not about making money. If we can break even, we're fine, right? When it comes to DC, they could be thinking like that, and therefore they're thinking when Gunn starts to do his thing, we'll pick up and we'll do a good job. All right, fine.
It's not going to happen. That's just that dream. Then it's not going to happen. James Gunn has failed. They're going to fail. They fail.
The problem with James Gunn is this, right? And Peter.
They may not get off the ground with this track. They may not get off the ground at all. But
this is the thing
that they fail.
Because I heard that in an investor meeting, David Zaslav was boasting that the strike is saving them money, and I'm like, no, Ninja, you shouldn't be boasting about that to start with. Second of all, you're gonna burn money now. You're gonna burn even more money because of the strike.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no idea what you're saying. But anyway, let's just get back to the point. The point is that regardless of what happens, we need to put our foot on the gas. Now, Warner Brothers has, for the last, 1978 to 2023, that'd be the last 50-something years, has had the IPDC, right? But the IPDC is not limited to Warner Brothers. In fact, a number of other companies, TriStar and UA, United Artists, and several other companies have actually done DC films.
Yeah.
Even Universal has done it, and also what Columbia Pictures has also done it. So what I'm saying is, if they cannot handle the IPs, maybe they should just sell them. Sell the DC IPs across to a company. If it's not working for them. Now, with the Gal Gadot situation, And all of this is climate, but we're just trying to keep priorities in order. But the Gal Gadot situation, they got rid of Patty Jenkins. This is what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They got rid of Patty Jenkins. That's what they did. They got rid of Patty. Now, do I think that Patty's script probably needed some work? I'm sure it did. But
Mm.
why should she have to redraft it? Or why is it that it doesn't fit Gunn's plan? No. What they want to do is they actually don't want Gal Gadot there, but they just don't know how to get rid of her because I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of Wonder Woman fans out there. Like
Yeah.
they love Gal. They
Yeah.
love Gal. If they tomorrow say they're gonna fire Gal, woo! Totally gonna be a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Gunn is only building enemies. People don't like James Gunn. A lot of
They-
people.
Yeah.
And they-
building more enemies now.
And they hate the Guns. All the people who Gunn
I hate
sells.
James Gunn, sorry. I have no interest in James Gunn, DC. I don't give a damn. So James Gunn turned me off. Sad.
Yep. So DC's in a very bad place. And it didn't help that James Gunn is a Marvel director. It didn't help.
No.
It's like, bro, why are you even there at DC? Like, please, trying to tell us about DC. And you don't even know about Superman. You know nothing about Superman. You showed us. You told us you didn't know anything about Superman.
And
So it's like-
I was saying that Bruce Timm was the best man to run DC right now. Bruce Timm, but they're not using Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm was the best guy to run DC.
There's several people. I can think of Jay Oliver, Bruce
Yeah.
Timm. You have Jim Lee. You have Deborah Snyder. But to be honest with you, DC only works right now because it was started by Zack Snyder. DC only works with Zack Snyder right now. I mean, you could, and I don't mean it. I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I mean, in terms of the films, the standard that Zack Snyder kind of put the DCEU in and drew people to expect from the DCEU, that standard's pretty high. So I think he's the guy that should lead DC. I think Christopher Nolan picked the right guy. I just think that for some reason, Jeff Johns got into some of the executives' heads and turned them against Zack Snyder. And so as a result of that, it really effed up everything because there was a lot of continuity, there was a lot of flow. And then Jeff Johns pretty much did his havoc, and because he was so jealous, he did his havoc. And
who moan and bitch and complain. They moan and bitch and complain. They want to make Marvel money, more big money like Marvel. These idiots.
The thing about it is, though, Jeff Johns is the one that started fueling that resentment for what was going on, and it's sad because the best thing about comic book movies is the action, and nobody comes close to what Zach does when it comes to action. You look at the Flash film, the Flash running, and stuff, the Speed Force and stuff. They can't touch what Zach was doing. They just can't. So you have to get. This is the problem. Like, to keep that standard, to keep that visual effect, and then add to it. You need to have some people from Zach's team coordinating with your people. If you try to do it just on your own, this is why Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 84 failed. It's the action. The action just was not good. It was just not good.
Right.
And with comic book movies, you got to get the action right. And Zach set such a high bar with how to do action.
We're not there. Zack Snyder's team are not there. That's the thing.
Right. So that's why I said it kind of damaged everything by alienating the guy who started the universe for you. You should have had that guy in the background where they could consult him and stuff, particularly when it comes to the action, because they try to duplicate the slow-mo and all those things, and it still looks forced. Even Black Adam, the slow-mo looks like it looks fake. It looks fake, and that's the problem, because they don't know how to ground the cinematography doesn't know how to ground it, so it kind of still looks fakeish.
Okay, I think he did a good job. I think Black Adam was a great movie.
Nah, again, I mean, I'm telling you because I want you to understand. You don't want stuff to look fake, and the problem with Black Adam was it looked fake, and I can tell you why. The cinematography was such that they shot. It looked like they shot Black Adam on digital. They didn't shoot Black Adam on film. film, the graininess of film will cause a seamless, it always causes a seamless, even if you're doing CGI, it looks seamless with the
Okay.
background. Where and the depth. With Black Adam, when Black Adam was coming out of the cave and he was fighting all the people in the
So
chapters, some parts of it look good, some parts of it look real, and then some parts of it you're like in the uncanny valley. You're like, what's it? Is he in front of a screen? Why does this look so weird?
I like
You
I
know,
like
like
those
when
to me. To me, I like those good to me. I think it's well done in my opinion.
even with Supergirl, when they rescued her and she started fighting all the people, certain parts of it look good, and then some certain part of it just look fake. It looks super fake, and
I
it's
know.
because you don't have those effects. Like, see, okay, when you look at Zack Snyder's Justice League, when the Flash was saving Iris West,
Mm.
there are certain effects they use. They didn't just slow down the film and have it. It's a certain effect. Sometimes you see like a ripple effect when his hand, when his finger hit the glass, how the glass rippled. You could see
Yeah.
the structure of the glass actually started to vibrate and ripple like a wave, and then it broke. Those details, like I said before, Zack Snyder's a detail person. Those details you don't get in those other things. So you can see they're trying to simulate, time slowing down and Supergirl hitting the guy as Batman was about to punch him, and he had a gun in his hand, and she hit him and pushed him away. But the
Yeah.
way how it looks fake because they
Okay.
didn't have the effects. They didn't have the atmospheric effects where if she hits him at that speed, the whole of his face will distort with the
Yeah.
punch, and the face will ripple a certain kind of way, and so on and so on and so on. Those are details that happen. Like if
Okay.
you're watching a boxing match and a guy gets punched, you literally see the ripple effect on the skin as the whole face contorts, and the whole face goes like that. And so there's all these effects that were not put into those movies because they're probably trying to cut things for budget, or nobody's talking about the particulars and telling them, well, you have to do this because you're trying to imitate realism. So it's these kinds of things that I'm talking about that they don't do. And even the Batman chase, when he was chasing down the truck, looked like something from a toy store. I mean, the truck,
Yeah, the Batman.
the
That look fake. That don't look good. The Batman with Robert Pattinson.
yes,
That don't look
and
good.
you
I
not
like
Robert
that.
Pattinson, the Ben Affleck part in the beginning of the Flash with the truck,
No,
the
that looks
oil
good.
truck.
That looks
That
good.
truck looked fake as hell because
It looks
there's
good.
no way there's a truck with that kind of front bumper thingy that they had, a thick rectangular thing. It just looked really weird, right? And the reason being that the CGI, I could tell where the CGI artists had to do something last minute, and they like made changes to something they already changed already, and it takes months and months to get that really refined and proper. And
I
you could
blame
tell that
James
they did
Gunn.
last
I
minute
blame
changes on
James
the
Gunn
movie.
for the whole thing. I blame James Gunn for that, for doing that. James Gunn is the one who put changes to the movie and let the movie flop. That's my opinion. I blame him. He
So there's
should
a
leave.
lot of changes in that movie, and that's why the CGI in certain spots looks
Yeah,
atrocious. I mean,
he
it
should
looks
leave it
terrible.
alone. He should leave it alone. That's what James Gunn should. He should leave it alone. He would have made money right now, but because of his ego, he's an asshole. And I blame him. I blame him for everything right now.
Yes. So anyway, what I was saying, and what you're saying, is that we have mistreatment of creatives, we're having mistreatment of fans, we're having that climate where these companies feel they're gods or something, and we owe them something, and we owe them nothing, nothing. They, if anything, they're doing a product for us, which
So we
we
don't
will
have
either
nothing.
receive or reject. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I suggest, in terms of priorities, we need our priorities. So you have to look at what is doable now. What is the most doable thing? Because if you say that they'll never release Zack Snyder's Justice League, then they will never release the Air Cut either, right? And then they'll never release make the Backflip movie. So we have to put priorities on what we are asking for, and it doesn't matter what company fulfills that. The important thing is fulfilled. So I think the most doable thing in all of the requests and hashtags that we talk about to restore the Snyderverse is, regardless if it is Netflix, whether it's Comcast, Universal, whether it's Paramount, whether it's Sony, whether it's Warner Brothers, right? DC, release the Snyder Cut into theaters and IMAX. That is the most doable of all the hashtag requests we could have. And that would start off the Snyderverse. And it makes sense because it's already been done. It's been put into IMAX and it was seen and the quality was great. So that's the most doable thing. And I think that's the number one priority we should have. The number two priority should be to push for the air cut because that's almost done as well. And so we should push for the air cut. We don't expect to get the air cut this year because of the strike. Whenever the strike ends, that is when we're looking at releasing the air cut. Again, may I say that there's several different points we need to make. One is it doesn't have to be Warner Brothers, but we're going to be appealing to Warner Brothers Pictures. We're not going to be appealing to DC. We're not going to be appealing to Warner Brothers Discovery. We're going straight to DeLuca and Abdi. They're at Warner Brothers Pictures. That's the people we're talking to. That's the people who are allies as far as we're concerned with Warner Brothers. Regardless, whether you're saying sell it to Netflix, whether you're saying sell it to Comcast, you talk to those people. Those people are level-headed. Zack Snyder even himself endorsed them and said, these are level-headed people. They will listen to you. So these are the people that we need to target. These are the people we need to talk to. We're not talking to James Gunn. We're not talking to David Zaslav. Okay? We're not talking to Warner Brothers Discovery. We're talking to Warner Brother Pictures, right? We're not going over anybody's head, but we're talking to the people who we know will listen to us. They may refer us back to DC, but nonetheless, those are the people we want to talk to. Now, the important thing is, one, we're looking at release the Snyder Cut into cinemas and IMAX. That's something that if it's done, it really will undo a number of damage, a number of things that are damaged. It doesn't mean that Ray Fisher will come back. It doesn't mean that we get an apology from, you know, to the people who participated in the investigation. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. But what it does is it starts the ball rolling towards the Snyderverse. It may not be with Warner Brothers. It may be with some other company, but it starts the ball rolling towards the Snyderverse. And I have noticed David Ayer is still pushing his Suicide Squad movie. Zack Snyder has not given up on getting sequels for Zack Snyder Justice League, and they've both been supportive of Blue Beetle, right? And Blue Beetle is a Safran promotion thing. James Gunn really doesn't have anything to do with it, but it is something that both Zack Snyder and James Gunn have been supporting. Now, I'm not saying you need to support Blue Beetle. What I'm saying is that James Gunn and Zack Snyder have shown a difference in a different kind of attitude. I mean, Zack Snyder supports almost every DC movie that comes out, but I'm still saying there's something about Abdi and DeLuca that we need to pay attention to. Those people seem to be reasonable people. They are probably the people who would have listened to us and would have done X, Y, and Z if James Gunn and Peter Safran didn't come on board. So they're producing. Now, James Gunn is not producing, right? He's not producing, but they are producing. You're very sleepy, Leroy. I can see that in your eyes. But they are producing. That is the important thing, right? So what we are doing is our strategy is we should strategize to get the Snyder Cut into cinemas this year. Now, I said October, but we can always push it back to November, right?
Not going to happen.
November.
Not going to happen. That's how it is.
I'm not saying I'm an optimist, so I'm not even listening to that, because I'll tell you two reasons why. You don't know how it's going to play out. You don't know if Warner Brothers tomorrow wake up and sell DC to Comcast.
They're desperate.
Yeah.
Right now.
This is another thing I didn't say. Okay. There's another thing about the climate we need to talk about, which is that DC is over $1 billion in the hole in terms of debt incurred over those 6 movies. They cannot afford to have another flop. They can't.
Sorry,
right?
But they're going to flop. Blue Beetle and Aquaman and Lost Kingdom, they're going to flop.
And Blue Beetle looks like it's going to flop. That's the prognosis so far. So, Zack Snyder's been trying to help. David Ayer's been trying to help. Whether they paid them or not, they're trying to help. And James Gunn hasn't said anything. And James Gunn's supposed to be the head of DC. He's supposed to be pushing hard to make sure Blue Beetle succeeds. Doesn't seem to be doing that. So ultimately, in the end, what we're looking at here, ladies and gentlemen, is they're desperate and they need money. Now they've started their campaigns and stuff. They were worse off, but Barbie bailed them out. Barbie is bailing them out.
Yeah.
Okay. Barbie is bailing them out big time. But like I said online, F Barbie. I don't care about Barbie. I don't like Barbie. I don't like the message in Barbie. I don't like anything about Barbie, right? But nonetheless, it is performing. People are going and seeing it for reasons. Well, women are going to see it. It's not really men. Women are going to see it. And of course, Barbie has been a doll that's been around in America for a very long time. So people may be just going in there for nostalgia and stuff like that.
No, it's almost 900 million. So by weekend, we're going to reach 1 billion. So
yeah. I'm not saying no good for nothing. I F Barbie as far as I'm concerned. I'm serious about it because the message in Barbie is not a good message in my opinion. Well, I would say it's not necessarily not a good message. It's an incomplete message. And then they threw shots at Zack Snyder and his fans. So F Barbie. I don't care about her. Yeah. So anyway, back to what I said. So basically, they need money. They need money. They need money really badly.
These clones are desperate, and it's their fault. These clones are they're all clones. And
I mean, I'm not gonna put Palm Abdi and Mike DeLuca in that category, but all the rest of them, yeah, they're all clowns. They're all clowns. They don't know what they're doing. James Gunn right now is making a mess of a mess of a mess.
It's getting worse and worse. No matter
it's getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, the nightmare and the nightmare. We are already in Justice League 2. The nightmare is going on right now. I mean, this must be a nightmare for DC fans everywhere. But anyway, back to the strategy. So the strategy is release the Snyder Cut in cinemas and IMAX. We keep that in the forefront. Though, don't forget, 2 days from now, for those who are listening, we need to also do the hashtag release the Ayer cut. That day is devoted to releasing the Ayer cut hashtag. So, things can keep going. I don't think Warner Bros. Has money to greenlight anything right now. No. So the only thing I'm telling you that could happen this year, and it probably is going to happen because if Blue Beetle flops, trust me, they're going to be looking for Zack Snyder to bail him out. I could see it happening. I already thought the Flash movie flopping was it. That's the end of them. So like I said before, it's either the company's going to get sold suddenly. Suddenly you're just going to hear news of the company's sold. Or what you're going to hear, because again, Abdi and DeLuca have been successful enough so they didn't have to sell. But suffice it to say, I believe that if we keep on pushing for the Snyder Cut to go into theaters, one way or the other, I don't know exactly how. I don't know if it's going to be Warner Brothers or whatever. One way or the other, it's going to happen because they're in such a bad situation with DC right now. DC brand is on an all-time low. It's a very bad situation that I can see this easily being a possibility this year. Particularly the fact that Zack Snyder has Rebel Moon coming right after. He's a hot name. His name is just everywhere. Clint Eastwood is taking pictures with him. He's like a celebrity in and of himself. I can see this happening just off of Zack Snyder's name. The question is, how much money will it make? So anyway, the strategy, release the Snyder Cut. It's all about restoring the Snyderverse. So we start with something that's Snyder, the Snyder Cut. And then, of course, we also go with release the Ayer Cut, which that movie's almost done. It'll cost some money, but if the Snyder Cut is successful, that there will be money to release the Ayer Cut with, to finish the Ayer Cut off of the Snyder Cut. There might be even money to do a sequel for the Snyder Cut. So what I'm saying is, whoever's the lucky person to distribute and to produce these movies, they're going to make a lot of money off of them because Zack Snyder makes, you say Zack Snyder, you're talking about money right there. So those are the two movies we really should be focusing on. We shouldn't be focusing on sequels and all of that. All of that's already incorporated in Restore the Snyderverse. We should take all our energies, get as many Snyder Cut fans and as many DC fans, as many fans. DC fans need to come together, at least because I guess we are starting to unite against Gunn. I mean, I'm seeing DC fans that hate Zack Snyder's stuff uniting with us against Gunn. So I just truly believe that everybody's starting to see Gunn as an enemy.
James Gunn loses up everything from the start. It's sad.
So if everybody would just unite, I don't think everybody will unite, but most DC fans.
Fan base are divided right now. There's a big war between fan base, right? Especially on Twitter.
Yeah, but it's not so bad. Like I said before, it's not as bad as you think. I've been talking to DC fans who hate Zack Snyder's movie. In fact, some DC fans don't even like Zack Snyder's Justice League, but they're saying it's like a far cry better than what James Gunn is doing.
I love Zack
They say, I see that. I was on Twitter, right, and this fan, he was like, you know what? I don't even like Zack Snyder's Justice League. I saw it. I thought it was mid. He said, but listen, whatever it he said, whatever it takes to get rid of James.
Yeah, James Gunn.
He said that he's not helping DC right now. So I'm telling you right now that
James Gunn has failed DC.
A lot of DC. Once you say DC fan, I'm not talking about Gunn fans who are Marvel fans, really. I'm talking about DC fans. Anybody who likes the DC logo or is a DC fan, right now they don't like James Gunn. They just don't like what he's doing. They don't like it at all. And I've seen some gatekeepers for Superman. I've seen people who've been bashing like Zack Snyder's work, and they suddenly realize like there's something worse than that right now. Yeah. And they're literally coming together with us. To say, listen, this needs to end. So I think they would even say, not restore the Snyderverse. They may not say restore the Snyder, but they would be for us releasing the Snyder Cut in the cinemas just to get the DC brand, to get something positive into the DC brand. Because we don't have any film this year with DC that can help it. We don't have Matt Reeves' Batman movie. That's next year.
That's delayed. That's delayed because of the strike.
Right, it's delayed. Oh my God, look at that. It's delayed because of the strike. So guess what? I'm telling you, bro, this is the best time to release the Snyder Cut because just like with COVID, where the Snyder Cut was released, this is the thing that's going to save DC. It's going to save.
They don't see it that way because of their ego.
It doesn't matter.
Don't see it that way because
it doesn't matter. Listen to me. It doesn't matter. James Gunn is expendable. He's expendable. Right? David Zaslav just fires people just like that. He's expendable. If he can't produce, he's gone. He's gone. Not only is he gone, but it's possible Warner Brothers may have to sell off DC, which means we're still going to get what we want. So we have to keep on saying what it is we want. I'm telling you right now, the heat is on the people who want to say they have control. Because, like I said before, the climate is they want to give you their programming. They don't really want to entertain you. They want what they say goes, but it doesn't work like that. You're making a product for people, and they determine if they like it or not. You can't make them like a product that they don't want to see. So, at the end of the day, this is the clash that they're making, and they're going to lose this battle so bad. They're losing it already.
They are losing big time, and some
idiots don't
see that. You have some idiots who are cooking James Gunn. They don't see it, but James Gunn has lost. James Gunn has failed. And
he's failed miserably. Unfortunately for him, he's been failing miserably. But my point is, it can't be a better time because they can't put out movies.
And they can't
put out movies right now because there's a strike. Whatever they have to put into the slate to do, they can't hire people to do reshoots, right? That leads me to another thing I want to speak about because there's so much in climate we have to talk about. But here's another thing we have to talk about in climate. So the independent companies, the indie companies, this may be the age of the indie company, where smaller companies actually start to produce movies. Maybe they'll couple together, they'll do like 2 or 3 indie companies, and they may agree to the proposals that SAG-AFTRA and the WGA are proposing, so that the WGA and the strikers for SAG-AFTRA, they may end up actually making individual agreements with companies instead of working with the association of producers out there. In which case, now these little indie companies may acquire producers on their own accord, who will then have to agree with the terms and conditions. So we work through the companies instead. Even the big corporation may have to work through these companies instead. So that way it has better conditions for the actors and all these other people, the crew and all the, So what I'm saying is that if this continues any longer, people they have to work. So they may have to work with individual indie companies, Greg Silverman's company, Ben Affleck, and what's the other guy's name? Damon. Yeah, Matt Damon. Yeah, Matt Damon. So this may actually be something that benefits the indie companies. But now, like I said before, I don't know if you were there for my video on the 38 DC films that we've had so far in DC. But the first DC film was actually...
I missed it because I fell asleep. I told that I missed it.
Well, the first DC film was an indie film. Did you know that? Superman and the Moon. Yes, it was. It was an indie film. It was an indie film where people put up money and made it happen. So, the first DC comic book movie was an indie film. So it may be that DC goes back to being indie films and being produced by smaller companies.
It may not work. Right now, what happened?
Well, what I'm gonna say is this: once you have 2 or 3 indie films, and on one of the and maybe they link up with a big promotional company like Universal, or Paramount, one of those, then they could. The only thing they have to worry about is distribution. So Universal will be able to distribute the film, or even Warner Brothers might be able to distribute the film, but they're the ones that actually make the film. So the indie film companies make the film, they get the money to make the film. So let's say the film costs $100 million or $200 million. Well, you have 3 or 4 indie companies who get their producers and sponsors, to sponsor the film, and then they go with the distributor, the big distributor, and distribute the film. So in that way, they don't have to pay all this set of money. It's 2-3. All you need is like 2-3 little indie companies. Like I said, Greg Silverman, Ben Affleck, and they. Now the only thing is they will be sharing in the profits. The actors and the creatives and the cast and all these other people, specialist people, will also be because the agreement will be with SAG-AFTRA. They'll be getting some of the profits. So it won't be all the executive arm getting a lump sum of the profits, but it will be now the creatives that get more of the profit. So that will be a very interesting thing. In boxing, the same thing's happening right now. So I think that could be a very progressive thing that could happen. But this is one of the things in the climate. Anyway, for us as fans, though, we want to see the movies that we want to see. It's not that we are wagging the dog. It's not the tail wagging the dog. It's just if there's a demand for something, why don't you satisfy that demand?
Yeah.
In this interactive social media world, where now you can have corporations interfacing with fans and audiences and stuff, you have to be able to give and take. So these companies need to understand demand and supply.
They are showing the middle fingers to us fans and the actors who are on strike. That's what they are doing right now, and it's not going to work. It's
definitely not going to work. It's going to backfire on them royally. And if they think that technology can bail them out at this time, they are miserably wrong. So, yes. So I would say to them that, it couldn't be a more perfect time to have Zack Snyder's Justice League in theaters. And so I'm pushing very hard for it. Now, let me just explain the strategy. So there are only 2 movies right now that are doable. One can be done in the strike, and one can be done just post strike. Zack Snyder's Justice League can be done tomorrow if they want. And then the air cut is one. As soon as the strike ends, the air cut could come out, maybe a month or so after the strike ends. Or if people want to work, agree with David Ayer and work through the strike because of special conditions or whatever, I guess that can be done as well. But those are the two major ones. However, there is yet another movie that we have to talk about, and that is Make the Batfleck movie. It's something that trends on Twitter on a regular basis, and today was a tremendously big day for Make the Batfleck movie. That is the three movies that are priorities, I think, in the not too distant future. The thing about Make the Batfleck movie is it doesn't cost as much money as the other two movies that we're talking about. This is a low budget movie. It can be made rather quickly. It's a great story, and as you saw with the news, in the trades, 80 years of Batman that you haven't ever seen on film was going to be what they were going to pull from to make that movie. So I gotta say, that is a movie we have to see, and we have to continue the campaign to ensure that movie happens. Now, Ben Affleck might be very old by the time.
Yeah.
How old is he? 40-something years old. He's old.
No, in his 50s now. He's now in his 50s.
Yeah, he ain't no spring chicken. You know what I mean?
He don't look that old. He looks good for his age right now.
He looks great for his age, but he's still old. So, the window for that movie to be made is closing. I gotta say that.
Yeah.
So, if you're gonna make this movie, it has to be somewhere in 2024, somewhere maybe the end of 2024. They have to start production, so they can happen in 2025, 2026.
Yeah. But
so I mean, you gotta get a snapping on that. You know what I'm saying? And the strike not helping the situation. So we have to see how. Yes.
It's like everything.
Yes, and I gotta say, when I saw what I saw they treat Ben Affleck in The Flash, now there's certain aspects of Ben Affleck's performance in The Flash that was great, and then there was just certain aspects of Ben Affleck's performance in The Flash that was just, I'm like, why are you doing this to this guy? Why are you doing that?
And they cut out those scenes. They did many more great scenes in The Flash, and James Gunn cut out those scenes, which is sad.
I think that all I can say is that I am so sad for Andy Muschietti. I think that Andy Muschietti is a fantastic director, and I think they did him very wrong with this Flash movie. I think they did him very, very wrong, and I feel sorry for him because he's a great director, I think, and I think that he got involved in a movie which had a lot of politics involved with it, and unfortunately for him, it just didn't help his situation. So, if I'm him, I wouldn't take any work from Warner Brothers under James Gunn until
to direct Batman Brave and the Bold movie. That's what I hear. He's going to be.
He should turn it down, and he should turn it down immediately because the experience with the Flash should have been enough for him to say, you know what, I don't want it.
James Gunn cut out the vital scenes out of the movie. He shouldn't have done it. He's the one who changed it to George Clooney and cut out scenes out of the Flash. No.
Boy, that Flash movie would have been so much better than it was. It was supposed to have Cyborg in it, by the way. So he had to do a redraft.
They saw them. They showed them in the end. At the end, when he come out of the courthouse, Michael Keaton was there, Sasha Calle was there, Henry Cavill was there, Gal Gadot was there. They were all there.
Yeah.
And then when he was talking to Jason Momoa, Sasha Calle and Henry Cavill were standing side by side at the bar. And then when he comes to his apartment, Ben Affleck called him and said, "You have to find me. You have to find me. I'm trapped." Ben Affleck is trapped. That's what he's and James Gunn cut out those scenes. No, that turns off fans. If those scenes were in the movie, movie would do well. And then, but they made mistake. He announced his reboot when these movies are going on. Now announce reboot. He shouldn't have done that. He should have waited. because they want to make money. You know what I mean? They're joking. They joke it out. They'd have make money right now. They would have made a lot of money right now, but they joke it out. They joke it out.
Yep. Yep. So so basically the strategy is simple. The strategy is still continue the hashtag campaigns, but you're just doing the Snyder Cut as one of the hashtags, release the Snyder Cut. And the same release the Snyder Cut hashtag, you just use it with you type out in cinemas and IMAX. Then release the air cut continues on. We have a campaign that's 2 days from now, well, 1 day from now. On Saturday, we'll be doing the release the air cut, and you can do film. You can do oh yes, I have something else I have to talk about. Film. You can do little GIFs, whatever, pictures, whatever you want to put. Interesting
Yeah.
information, whatever. I do believe William Rowland will be doing a stream, so you guys can check into that. I don't know if it's on YouTube or where it is. It could be on Vero. I don't know. But he'll be doing a stream discussing maybe the history and so on. The other thing in the strategy that I want to talk to you guys about is something that we did, which actually started the precursor to DC fandom, which was SnyderCon, which is that we should have some competitions, art competitions, music competitions, cosplay competitions around the Snyder Cut and the Snyderverse, so we could have Wonder Woman and all of these things. Let's get our SnyderCon going again, and for two reasons. One, we need to get the SnyderCon going for two reasons. One is yes, so that we can restore the Snyderverse and have Zack Snyder Justice League in theaters this year, but also because Zack Snyder is also putting out another new movie called Rebel Moon, and we want to
Yeah.
promote that and have him discuss that as well. So for those two things, I think we should look at those things as well. So having competitions, also, which I think is very important that we do, is we need to also have members who are willing to talk with us. We need to have interviews with members of Zach's cast, the original cast. So we're talking about if we can get interviews with guys like Henry Cavill, we can get an interview with Ben Affleck. Those would be harder to get, but still, nonetheless, we have to put out a listing and somebody who talk to the people in the Snyder.
Next one, you're there for that work. All these thing plans cost going to cost money. So we don't have money right now to do to do those things, do these things. Hello? Look like it cuts off. Look like it cut off. Look like he cuts off. Well, Christian Disciple look like he's cut off. I'm still on the show. I was saying that what he has planned, everything will take time and money to do. I'd really like to see the Snyderverse restored, but it's not going to happen because with what's happening right now, the strike and all that. You know what I mean? But anyway, look like he must have cut off. Look like his internet is down. So I just want to say big shout out to all of you who get time to see this live. I guess this live will be over right now. What he made a great point. What he's have planned. We'd really like to see it happen. But right now, these execs at WB, they're showing their middle fingers to us true fans, and that's what's happening. And James Gunn has failed DC. So there's a big shout out to Christian Disciple. I'm Leroy Kong. I guess the live will be over. I guess the stream is over. So thank you for your time and peace to you all. Take care and God bless. Goodbye.